Welcome, everybody, to Porn Free Millennial. This is episode 10. Keep it simple. I'm your host, Mac, and we're switching it up a little bit moving forward. If you're listening right now, you're not going to be able to see this, but I'm actually on video. I thought it'd be nice to put a face to the name. And moving forward, I look to put out some more video content because I feel like this message is an incredibly personal message when we talk about porn recovery. And I oftentimes feel like it helps out a lot when you get to know someone a little bit better. And what better way to get to know somebody is to actually see, what they look like, their facial expressions, things like that. So we're gonna give it a shot, see how it goes. So I'm excited. But anyways, it's been about a month since my last podcast. I failed a little bit with my resolution to do them every other week. I've been putting out more content and writing on my Substack, and I've been meaning to put out this podcast. I'd feel like now for like 2 weeks, but it's been busy. It's been busy. And that's kind of where I wanted to start the podcast and set the stage. So, obviously it's the new year. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great celebration. And, I feel like every start of the new year, when you listen to podcasts that, kind of follow the calendar, you're always going to get some kind of like New Year's resolution topic podcast. I wanted to deviate from that a little bit because I feel like resolutions typically don't last that long and it needs to be a little bit deeper. So we're going to be talking about keeping it simple today. And I really wanted to start before I dove into, the topic of keeping it simple and what that means, at least to me, and what that could mean to you. So I want to start with a story. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, how my year ended, how it began, and kind of where I was at. I would say like last year, ending it, and then where I started this year. I think that's going to help provide a little bit of context for what we're going to talk about today. So, I think my last podcast, I talked about the relapse that I went through. And relapse, if we're talking about porn recovery, that's like if you fall back and go backwards on your recovery. So that means that you looked at porn, you masturbated, you went basically over like red lines that you've set in the sand. For me, definitely like masturbation and looking at porn are red lines for me. Could be different from you, but that's for me like what my recovery looks like. There's other aspects of that, but those are like red lines. So those are red lights, and those are lines in the sand that I'm not going to cross. For me, when I cross those, that is a relapse, and I have to reset my sobriety. So in October, I'm trying to remember the date offhand, but it was about around October 20th. I was nearing, I believe, 9 months or a little bit over 9 months of sobriety, and really just like let a lot of negativity creep in. I went on a countrywide road trip over the summer in the RV that I purchased in March. And I purchased that RV in March after I finalized a divorce after a 5-year marriage. So last year was a really crazy time for me. It was a really difficult year. But I bought this RV. And with this RV, I've gone on a lot of different trips. And then the big trip was really going from Colorado all the way down to the Florida Keys. Along the way, went through probably about 14, 15 different states. Saw a lot of family, a lot of friends. It was absolutely awesome. Made some new friends, met a lot of strangers, had a lot of great conversations. And it was really like a healing trip for me. I feel like I really needed that. And then I got back home mid-September, and I've been in Colorado ever since. Been crashing on and off at my parents' house, just as a home base with my RV because I can park it here, which is awesome. Appreciate that, mom and dad. But with that being said, it was a little bit of a change of pace for me coming back home after this amazing road trip that was about close to 4 months long over the summer leading into fall. And it was a change of routine for me. I feel like I didn't really quite adapt as well. I think the first few weekends I got back, I had a lot of things planned with friends and family, which was great. But then I started to get into a little bit of a lull, I'd say a funk, depressive state, to where really just started to think about a lot of negative things, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. If you haven't listened to the podcast, a part of the reason why I started this is because, porn, I think, was, a big part of the divorce. My immaturity handling it, not being honest about it, not really truly understanding how big of an issue it was for me. And I brought that into the marriage and didn't quite handle it maturely. Throughout the marriage, I sought help. Been going to the same therapist now for, I'd say, close to 2 years. And then I've also have a porn-free coach mentor, I like to call him. His name is Vern Tomke. He has a course online, which we'll dig into a little bit in today's topic. And he also has a great podcast called Finding Traction. He's a fantastic man, a mentor, and owe a lot to him just with, we talk bi-weekly, lots of great advice there. So anyways, uh, long story short, that caused, the porn and not being honest about it and not really handling it maturely really caused some massive trust issues, some hurt that really couldn't be healed. At least just working through things. So that's why, there's other things as well, but that I think that was a central part of, why things ended, and it was really sad and really difficult to go through. I never really expected that to happen in life. So why I share that is because that's the reason I'm doing this podcast. I want to share, my story, my experiences with other people. If I can help you, I want to help you. If you're going through something in your marriage or a relationship, or you're single but you're struggling with porn, I hope this can help you. Really, I mean that's the main point of this. It's not to shame anybody. I mean, gosh, if you did a poll of how many men have looked at porn or still look at porn, you'd probably be, 80, 90% at least people still looking at it, and then probably 99.7% that have looked at it before in their life, or at least have seen, nude images, things like that. Women, I can't really speak for women as much, but I do know women struggle with this too. So if you're a woman listening to this podcast, hey, hats off to you. Hats off to you. We're all one big family here, recovery family. So like I was saying, I'm putting this out here to help people, because I think my story and I think sharing can really help with this problem. I call it a problem because it really does go to the root of you as a person. It's something that, at least for me growing up, I think I was first exposed to around 10, and it really became pretty big issue, when I was a teenager going into college. I knew it wasn't right for me. I grew up in a Christian household, so some of those values, of course, are there where, it's not right to do that. It goes against my faith. But I think that there's also something in there where I just felt like, this isn't really right. This doesn't seem right. Looking at people like this and these compromising, angles and positions, and um, for me, right, I think you deep down know that there's something wrong with it. There's a dehumanization factor, a objectification factor, and you can't quite put your name on it, finger on it, so to speak. It's just there, but of course, it's very addictive. I'm not gonna lie, it's super. It's super gripping. When you see it, it's hard to pull back. It pulls you in, because women and men, I'm speaking from a heterosexual point of view as a straight man, but I mean, I feel like women are beautiful. God made women very beautiful, and appealing, right? To men, sexually, to pass on the genes. Of course, that's a part of our DNA, but I think that God made a beautiful creation in women. So I think that's naturally in men, like myself. Like when you see a beautiful woman, you appreciate that. But With porn, there's a difference there. It's not as much of an appreciation, it's more of a selfish, in my opinion, a selfish venture where you're going in there for your needs, your sexual desires. That person turns into an object. So, that was just a continuance of, where I was, what happened, that caused me to do this podcast, why I'm sharing my story and why I want to help you. Because I do see that it's a problem. And I do think that talking to people about it, it's a topic that no one wants to talk about ever. It's not you're going to talk about this at the dinner table with your family or at Christmas. But I have a rare ability to be able to talk about this with anybody. So I think that's why I'm doing this. I think I can help. So that's a little bit of a background for you. If this is your first time seeing this or listening, or if you've listened before, just a little refresher. So, I had my relapse starting in October, and then it was really hard to get like a day or two in sobriety. Just felt awful, felt absolutely awful. Did not want to get out of bed. It was a real struggle. You could interview my parents or people around me. Just was like night and day different. Just was not the same person. And I just really fell off for a little bit. It was just really hard to get my feet back on the ground. And then I was able to regain my sobriety. Like I think I was saying, a month and 9 days sober now, and I was really able to regain my sobriety that time ago. But I'd say the holidays, especially like Christmas and then the New Year's, that was bringing in a lot of memories of the past, and then memories that really hurt me to my core because it's kind of these things that you think about where you're like, I'm never going to be able, to experience that with that person again. I'm not with anybody for this holiday season. I'm alone, and you just feel this guilt, you feel this shame. It's just like this big cloud hanging over you, and that was really starting to creep in, like Christmas week. It's really started. It was really hard just to feel like I was having consistent days. It was just really difficult. And I think I went on one or two little mini trips after I got back from my big trip in the fall, or when I got back in the fall from my big trip in the summer. And those trips really helped me, those little mini trips. And I think I was thinking about it as I was coming into this holiday season. I was like, wow, like I need to get out on the road again. I need to get out. I need to go on a little adventure. That's how I want to end my year, and that's how I want to start my year, is getting outside, reconnecting with this lifestyle that I started to develop for myself, getting out in my RV, going off grid, fishing, being with my dogs, eating fresh trout, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's just the thing that makes me happy. That's what puts me in my flow state. So, went out before New Year's, and I ended up being out in the mountains of Colorado, I think for 8 or 9 days, and ended up fishing a ton, ice fishing. Oddly enough, they did not bite during the day. I've never targeted trout at night, but I was absolutely just slaying it at night. I was catching about 7 or 8 fish a night and bringing home, the legal bag limit, cooking them for me and the dogs. And that really just brought me back. I think I've talked before, I check in with my brother, my little brother, about every day. That's a part of our recovery together. And he was telling me, he's like, you sound like your old self. You sound completely different than, where you were at. And why I share that is I knew I needed to get back to being simple again. I think just putting just had so many thoughts going through my head when I got back home. Sorry about that, a little bit of water there. And I had so many thoughts like when I got back home after this big trip. I'm like, okay, well, I got to do all this stuff. I want to get my YouTube channel going. I want to get my Substack. I want to get my podcast going, and I like wasn't doing it. Like I wasn't actually doing the things that I wanted to do. And I think I was just overcomplicating everything because I didn't really have any systems in place. Those kind of went by the wayside after my trip. Because on my trip, uh, things were more or less organized. I had a place I'd stay for, about a week, and then I'd move to the next place. And I had a routine going that really worked for me. And it was cool. I was seeing like new places just about every week. I was in a new state probably every 2 weeks. And just always had some activity to do. Fishing was always just something that I could just do if I didn't have anything else going on, or walking the dogs in some beautiful place, lots of forests, things like that. And all the while, if you're curious, I was working out of my RV too. I have a full-time job using Starlink internet, and it worked phenomenally. So that's just a little bit of background. Living full-time in the RV. Like right now, I'm taking a little bit of a break because of the weather and like the holidays. I had to get a knee surgery. But with that being said, when I was out there, I was able to work, and then after work do something fun. Got home, family, friends, all that. But then once it died down a little bit, kind of started to get a little lazy, a little bit, I would say, started to procrastinate on things. And, I think that led to the relapses for sure. And then it started to lead me back into that feeling towards the end of the year where I was like, if I don't change something, I might relapse again just because I really don't have anything in place. It's just too complicated. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. So that brings me to the word simple. So what I'd like to ask you is if you could do like one word to sum up this year for you, 2024, like what you're working towards in your life, like what you want your life to be. What is it? What is it? Ask yourself that right now. Maybe write it down on a piece of paper. Think about it. It doesn't have to be right away. Something that I was thinking about while it was kind of like a natural thing and like why I went on this trip was I was thinking about the word simple. 2023 was not a simple year for me. Like I said, went through a divorce, bought an RV, went on a road trip, started a YouTube channel, started a podcast, started a Substack, um, racked up some credit card debt, all those things. Was not a simple year for me. It was a complicated year. I ended up on top, I feel like, of the year, got through a lot of things that could have gone really wrong. The divorce ended amicably, all that stuff. And I'm still here. I'm doing well, in good health. But all things considered, oh my gosh, super complicated. So that's why going into this year, I'm like, man, I don't need any of that. I need to simplify things. So that's my word for the year is simple. Keep it simple. Now you might have a different phrase, but let's just go with mine for a little bit. So when I say simple, what I want to bring in really quick, and if you're not on video here, you're gonna go ahead and see uh you can go oh sorry, you can go ahead and see my Substack. It's called Wednesday Wisdom Active Commitments. I posted that on January 3rd of this year. So that was like I think that was my first post of the new year. And I went through active commitments. So active commitments is a great way to keep it simple. So that's what we're going to go through for the rest of the talk here. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. Okay, here we go. I'm a boomer, so I'm using Zoom. Well, it's young kids doing something else, but I'm just going to what I'm used to at work. All right, so if you're not looking at the screen, follow along on my Substack. Again, it's Wednesday Wisdom Active Commitments, Porn Free Millennial. And I can put this in the show notes too. But if you're watching the screen here, we've got our active commitments, and there's 4 quadrants that we're going to talk about: physical, spiritual, relational, and passion. So when I say simple, this is a very simple way to organize your recovery. It's a very simple way to focus on really key aspects of your life. And as you can see here, or if you're not looking, right now. The middle of these quadrants, all four quadrants touch the center circle, which is your recovery. So what that means, it's a holistic approach. Hate to break it to you, but porn recovery is not you avoiding porn. It's you moving towards things in life. It's you moving towards goals. You actively pursuing your commitments to maintain and to grow. That's what it's all about. It's holistic healing, holistic growth. If you're not doing all of these, that leaves an opportunity potentially to relapse back and to reset. So really the purpose of this active commitments check-in is to check in with yourself or with a partner, accountability partner, how you're actively pursuing your recovery. And it could be, hey, this week, this month, I like to dial it down to days with my little brother. We kind of do more of a fast check-in, which we can hit on that at a different time. I did do a fast check-in podcast, which I believe is episode, I think it was six or seven. It's called Fast Check-ins. And I also wrote about it too on my Substack. Fast check-ins is kind of more of a formula to do every day, where you can check in. F is for feeling, A is for active commitments, which we're going to talk about today. S is for sobriety or like slips that you've had. And there's two T's. One's for threats to your sobriety. And then T is for the other T is for tools. So what tools are you using to combat those threats? This is your active commitments here. And I do check in with my little brother every day, and we do fast check-ins with my mentor, Vern Tomke. Again, Finding Traction is a great podcast. We do this check-in bi-weekly where he asks me, hey, how are you doing with your physical health? How are you doing spiritually? How are you doing relationally? And how are you doing with your passions, your passion projects? And then overall, how are you doing with your recovery? I'd say that's something similar too that I do with my therapist when we talk biweekly is we'll typically score 1 out of 10 how you're doing. And it's almost exactly like this as to where he's asking me, how am I doing emotionally? How am I doing spiritually? How am I doing physically? How am I doing, with my relationships with others? So it is pretty much almost exact. So I do feel like this is a great way to break down and keep things simple this year for your active commitments. So really quick, we're just going to go into it, one by one. I'm going to share a little bit about me and what my commitments are this year. And while I'm talking, take some notes, think about, what you want to do this year for, how you want to live into these active commitments. So we'll first just start with physical. So the question would be, if you're checking in with yourself on a weekly basis or an accountability partner, someone that you trust that you can talk to about this stuff, how did I take care of and strengthen my body this week? And typically, and I'm sharing my screen right now, the article, but typically this might be linked to some kind of goal that's a little bit more out there. So basically, you have your commitment, and that's typically going to be linked out to maybe a bigger goal that you want to do. So for physical, part of my goal is to drop some weight. I got up to 252 pounds. That's closer to the highest I've ever weighed. I think the highest I ever weighed was 260. I'm a meaty guy. I consider myself athletic. 250 is a little heavy for me, a little too thick. Kind of Kylo Ren thick for all you millennials out there that might get that joke. That's kind of how I was feeling. And my goal is to get from 252 all the way down to 215 by September 2024. And I think when I wrote it at the time, this article, it was already, I think, a week after my initial weight which was 252 on December 26th. And I was down to 244. I'm happy to say now I'm down. I got down to 238 and then I gained a little bit back. So I'm right around 240. So I've lost 12 pounds so far. So I'm on my goal. But that's the big goal is lose weight. And part of the goal and part of what you want to write down, maybe if you have a bigger goal for each of these categories is, why do you want to get to this goal? And physically, I want to get down to 215 because it's going to allow for a clear mind. I'm going to feel more confident. And, I really want to get back to running, playing basketball, maybe playing some rugby, and just doing activities such as like hiking, and things like that. I'm in Colorado. We like to climb mountains here. We call them 14ers. We love to get up to some 14ers and climb them, but I want to feel good when I do it. Like I was saying, I had a knee surgery back in the day. Sorry, back in the day, a month ago, a month ago, back in the day. Yeah, it's so last year, right? And with that being said, sorry, my laptop's like freaking out right now, making noises. Uh, with that being said, though, to get down to that weight, I have to have some commitments, right? I have to have some active commitments. And these are going to be the things that you're going to check in on. So getting in bed by 10, Sunday through Thursday, with the goal of sleeping 7 to 8 hours, 8 to 10,000 steps per day, 3 to 5 active workouts of at least 45 minutes per week. This is going to vary a little bit when I'm in my RV because, when I'm in the city, I actually have a gym membership, which, I like to use. But then when I'm on the road, I don't have a gym. So, that's incorporating kettlebells, resistance bands, going on running hikes, and then just being active. Like when I went out ice fishing, I kind of counted that as being active because you have to drill the holes, you got to pull your sled. I actually used an e-bike, which was kind of fun. That actually probably didn't burn as many calories, but it made things a lot easier. But hopefully you catch the drift. I'm setting a commitment to say, hey, 3 to 5 active workouts per week. Also, something I'm doing is 90 days of the carnivore diet. So basically, for me, like I don't do great with carbs. I feel like or like grains, gluten, that kind of thing. Um, typically, yeah, I do love just having a nice steak. I typically eat more meat and more protein than probably normal people that have a balanced diet. And I was gaining weight because I think I was mixing that with bread, mixing that with beer, with drinks. So the 90 days carnivore, I don't think it's gonna be permanent. I can't see myself not eating like fruit or like avocados. But so far so good. I'm 23 days into it. And like I said, lost 12 pounds. So it's been working for me. I feel like it's really just kind of fit within, what I like to do, eating less meals, all of that, getting good sleep. If I'm not staying up trying to write articles and things like that. And then last of all, 90 days alcohol free. So I saw that as another thing as well, just for my health, to take a break from alcohol. So I'm also 23 days alcohol free there. And that's felt great. So all in all, those are my big physical goal, right, is to lose weight. And then I have active commitments to reach those. Now, am I going to hit those active commitments all the time? Already I have built in my head that probably not. Things are going to happen. Like if I don't get great sleep, uh, I might, or if it's 0 degrees or -10 out, which it was the last few days in Colorado, I might not get that full 8 to 10 steps per day. To me, these are really good commitments that I can check in on with my mentor, that I can bring up when I'm talking to my brother. When you're doing like a daily fast check-in, you talk about active commitments, it's not like I have to go through every single one of these. I might touch on a few of them that really stand out to me, but they're definitely in my mind when I'm talking to my brother every day. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to do better at going to bed on time. I need to do better at getting to the gym. These are things that stick with you. And what I want to say is, at least for me, I have a hard time sometimes beating myself up. That's been a part of this too, is just keeping it simple enough to where these are achievable commitments that I can do. And then if I don't achieve them, at least I have a confidence that I can get back on my feet and get back to it, the next day, the next week. Really strongly urge you when you're making your goals, your commitments, don't go super crazy. Again, keep it simple. Keep it to things that, start simple. Keep it to things that you can achieve. If you start with things that are just out of this world, it's not gonna help you. And again, these commitments, these goals are things to better your life. These are holistic things to move towards to better your health, and that's your health spiritually, physically, with relationships and with your passions. So that's our physical goal there. Now we're going to move on to spiritual goal. So I'm a Christian. My overarching goal with spiritual is a daily focus on my connection with Jesus Christ and then just centering my life through him. So what do those commitments look like? Continuing to attend in person or virtually my men's Bible study group. So that's every Tuesday. I go to Flatirons Church in Colorado. It's a great church. You can definitely follow them online. They have a podcast, Spotify, YouTube. If you're looking, it's a non-denominational church, but I've been going with them on and off probably now for like 7 years. I really think the pastor's awesome and love what they have to say. So just throwing out a pitch there. I'm never afraid to talk about it because I think it's a great church. So, anyways, I have a Bible study. These guys are great guys. We've been meeting with each other now for probably 4 or 5 years now. Pretty much the same core group of guys. I moved out of the Denver area for a little bit when my ex and I bought a house. So I stopped seeing them for a little bit. But then since I've been back, I've been with them. We typically go every Tuesday. So that's been really helpful. Just a great group of guys that you can share things with and study the Bible with. Another commitment is worship each Sunday service on either online or in person. So I'm going to give a shout out to my mentor, Vern. He's also a pastor. So he kind of gave me a kick in the butt about 3 weeks ago, and he said, "Hey man, like, you're doing well with the Bible study and getting into the word and all that, but when's the last time you've actually physically gone to church?" And of course I pull out the excuse, well, I've been on road trips and blah blah blah. But I got the message of hey, you need to go to church. You need to go in the building and connect with people and be around people. So I'm happy to say the last 2 weeks since I got back from my ice fishing trip, I've been going to church in the building, and it's been fantastic. Been actually able to go with my parents, and it's been really cool. So I really love doing that. But that's a commitment, if I'm out of state or if I'm out of town, just make sure that I'm going online because there's no excuses there really. Read a Bible verse each day through the YouVersion Bible app. Do at least 5 meditations through the Lectio 365 app each week. It does a morning and evening meditation where it'll pick a verse of the Bible, the app will, and it's kind of cool. I do like to do a lot of yoga and stuff, and this kind of reminds me of like the meditations you do where there's a meditation kind of opening and then closing, which in the evening and in the morning that has to do with belief in Christ and the Bible. So I really like that. There's times where they'll tell you to close your eyes, lay down, and that really puts me in a good mindset. And then just pray daily. That's kind of the last commitment I have here. Aim to be aware of God's creations all around me and to be grateful for what I have and give glory to him. So spiritually, my main goal is a daily focus, my connection with Christ. And those are the commitments that I will maintain and aim to maintain, if I fall, to meet that goal. All right, relational goal. We're halfway there. So this one's a little bit broad. I mean, I'm kind of this is more or less kind of keeping it status quo for me because I feel like I have a really good balance with family and friends. But relational goal for me is just to continue to maintain strong ties, with my family and with my friends. I feel like really close to my parents, with my siblings, and then I have good friends I've known for a really long time here in Colorado and outside of Colorado. So it's a good balance, so a lot of my friends, are married and some have kids. So it with timing and everything, it's kind of nice. We see each other, but it's not like all the time to where, it's you get a little tired of each other, whatever. It's just perfect for me. But my commitments there are continuing daily check-ins with my little brother. So what we do is we share voice memos on we have both have iPhones. So we'll send voice memos to each other. It typically lasts like 5 to 10 minutes where we'll each like I'll share my fast check-in with him. He'll listen to it. He'll respond for like the first part of his check-in to mine, maybe with some suggestions or tips or just feedback in general. And then he'll share his check-in with me. And then I'll send one more back to say, hey, I listened to yours and here's what I have to say. And that is great because if you are having a hard day, it can really help you. So I really, 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 really strongly, strongly, strongly suggest that you get that in your life. Some kind of accountability, some way to check in. It could be online, it could be over the phone, in person. That is one of the keys to recovery is to have a relationship with somebody to where you're not just in it alone. You're not in it alone and you're listening. So I think that's a thought in your head that I don't want to be alone. I need somebody in my corner. I'm definitely in your corner. You also need, though, somebody that knows you that can help you. Also, what I was going to say, again, to plug Vern, he has a website, which it's in my, I'm going to click on it really quick. It's in my Substack, and I can put it in my uh, description too, in my link it. But it's called bandofbrothers.care, and then you go to regular Joe's, and he's got a whole 52-week course called Traction that you can do. So I'm in that course right now. I think I'm like week 27 or 28, and it's great. Go at your own pace, and he's a great mentor. So I just want to plug that again. Is for some reason if you don't feel comfortable with that with people that are close in your life and sharing that with them, this is just another way where you could actually work with somebody that's an expert's been doing it for a while. He's done marriage counseling. He's been a pastor for a while. He's a Canadian too, so Canadians are really kind people. And he's a Dallas Cowboys fan, so had to check in on him a couple of days ago with that loss. But if you're a Cowboys fan, you can definitely bemoan your your team with him. And if you're not a Cowboys fan, maybe if you're an Eagles fan or a Packers fan, just don't bring it up and just forget I said anything. So just wanted to check that in. Just having that relationship is huge, with somebody. So also on my page, if you're watching the video, so I've got Fast Check-ins, the article that I mentioned earlier, and then Fast Check-ins podcast. That's a really good one to go back to and listen to. Other parts of the relationship goal. So continue with my men's group, bi-weekly coaching with Vern, bi-weekly therapy sessions. And I tried to do like have Vern one week and then the next week have my therapist. And that really is a great balance for me because then each week, I'm working on myself. I have some homework and they just always uplift me when I have these meetings. They're about an hour long and I just feel great afterwards because I feel like I'm holding myself accountable and we're able to talk through some really good topics. Continue to attend family events and spend quality time with my parents and siblings. So that's just great. I mean, that's like something that you realize. I think you go through divorces. You just I'm lucky enough to be able to spend that time with my family and my friends and my siblings. So that's just been really great, and it's just making sure that I don't lose track of that. Last but not least, we got our passion goal. Passion, passion, passion. So what are you passionate about? What really makes you happy? What are things that you do in your life where you're like, man, like time just flew by so fast? Those are the things I want you to think about. What are your passions? This is a huge part of it. So you've got your physical health, you've got your spiritual health, you got your relationships, and then you got your passions. Okay. This is huge. When you're not focusing on your passions, it can really eat away at you. And porn thrives off of off of these negative feelings that we have. These negative feelings pop up so much, when we don't have the passions going on in our life. We feel like we're just going through the motions. So this one I really wanted to hit on. You could tell with my passionate voice that I am passionate about this. So, here's a big goal of mine. So, work hard to create valuable content to help people in their road of recovery from porn. And I want to do that through my Substack. I want to do that through my podcast and grow my audience. I'd like to hopefully spread this message to as many people as I can. If you like it, if you know somebody, please share. I think hopefully this message, when you hear it, can help inspire you, inspire others, maybe have help something click that hasn't clicked before. Because I'm telling you, uh, listen to Vern's podcast, Finding Traction. There's another one called Porn Free Millennial, or sorry, that's my podcast, Porn Free Radio, with Matt Dobschutz. That was the first podcast I ever listened to with porn recovery, and fantastic podcast, absolutely fantastic. That guy is phenomenal, and that's Porn Free Radio. And him and Vern collaborate too on episodes. So it's a really cool community of people. But it's another podcast I would recommend. But I'd like to grow my own audience. I think I have some things to say as I'm going through recovery. That's a part of what makes me maybe a little bit different when you're listening to others versus me. Is I'm kind of going through it right now pretty fresh, and went through a divorce pretty fresh. So this is more like how it would be if you were just talking to someone like a friend or a family member, that maybe is your accountability partner and what they're going through. Uh, I've been in recovery now, I'd say at least for 4 years. The sobriety, that can reset at times. But I have been on the road to recovery for a while. I've been doing this stuff, so I feel like I do have some good authority and experiences I can share with you. So my goal, just to put it in concrete, would be to get to 100 Substack subscribers by the end of the year. Right now, I think I'm at 29 since I started in May. I'd like to get to 2,500 total podcast downloads. I haven't put this on X or really YouTube too much, so I'd like to grow those bases too. But I think right now I'm a little bit above like 450, 460 podcast downloads. So I think like getting to 2,500, a little bit lofty. But I started my podcast back in May. So I think with a full year ahead of me, hopefully I can spread the message. And, if you find value, please share as well. I'd really appreciate it. I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Colorado Mac. I have I think a TikTok too, if you have TikTok, and then on X, I'm trying to put some videos up on there. But that's more of like me traveling in my RV and using that to help motivate and inspire people. I feel like my trip was just so beneficial for me and my health. And I think everyone just needs to go on an adventure at some point. And for me, that was getting in the RV and driving across the country and then working out of it, living out of it. And that's probably gonna be my lifestyle for a little bit. And I want to film it and share. And so that's another passion of mine. I think right now I'm at let's see, 129 subscribers. I'd like to also get to 500 there uh by the end of the year. And then also just like want to focus, last but not least, besides like the Porn Free Millennial podcast and writing, and then the Colorado Mac YouTube channel, I'd like to focus on fishing and hunting. I love to fish and hunt. Those are passions of mine. Ice fishing was the best call I could have made to end my year and to begin it. Just had an absolute blast doing that. And then that holistically kind of ties into this, right? Because that's part of my story is telling you about that. And then it weaves in as well to my YouTube channel where I just made a short film called Sweet Solitude that goes over that time in my life where I wasn't feeling that great to end the year, and I was able to turn that around. So if you'd like, check that out. I can put that in the notes as well if you wanted to, watch a video like that, show you a little bit of a glimpse of my life and what I do. But with that being said, these are goals and commitments to, ensure that I have a strong recovery. And that's what I want to challenge you on, to end today. is think about these four aspects, these four active commitments. And again, they're your physical health, where you're at spiritually, where you're at with your relationships, and then where you're at with your passions. I really want you to focus in on those. And kind of like I did, and you might have a different way of doing this, but write down an overarching goal that you'd like to aspire to this year, and make a few bullet points, maybe 3 or 4 active commitments that you can commit to on a weekly basis to get there. And you'll find that once you get in the habit of doing it and you're thinking about it and you're checking that in with somebody yourself on a weekly basis, you're going to really start to see some progress. And why I did this whole episode and why I think about keeping it simple is if I didn't do that 10 the year, if I didn't get in my act together and get that article out about active commitments, have that discussion about active commitments again with my mentor, I'd still think like I'd be in a negative place, right now, if I didn't take that chance to invest more in myself, to become more organized with, where I want my life to go in these four aspects so that I could have a complete recovery. Without doing that, I think like we can really get lost sometimes. We can really get lost in life because life just moves so fast all the time. Doesn't really slow down. And that's really what I wanted to end on today is keep it simple. Focus on these four aspects of your life: physical health, spiritual health, relational health, and where your passions are. Find a way to check this in on a weekly basis. And you'll find that you're going to have a really strong start to this year for your recovery. And your recovery is incredibly important. It's at your core. If you've been struggling with this for a while, this is something that you want to get out of your life. I know I do. And it's not like this one magic bullet. It's constant. It's every day. It's a lifestyle. But don't let that daunt you, because if you keep it simple and you focus on things that you love and people you love, and if you do believe in God, your creator, and you focus on your temple, your health, you're going to find that the urges, the temptations are going to start to dissipate, and your recovery is going to be something that's longer lasting, something that's more sustainable. It's going to be a bedrock for you. So that being said, again, you can find me, Born Free Millennial, on Substack. And then I have podcasts on Apple and Spotify. My YouTube channel's been lacking a little bit of late, so I need to update that. I also have a TikTok as well. So there's a lot of things, a lot of irons in the fire. And then, if you want to follow me just normal life, my YouTube channel is Colorado Mac. And just posted a little bit of a passion project there called Sweet Solitude. And that could also maybe inspire you to go on another adventure. With that being said, everybody, Happy New Year. And as always, keep fighting the good fight. Talk to y'all later. Bye.